Hey everyone, Gnogat here. So, Phantom of Yubel has released, and it's obviously a long-awaited boost to Yubel decks, but it's also a possible engine in different decks that you can splash if you want to play against hand traps better. Now, in most decks, I don't think it's worth it. It's like, think of it as a bit more efficient adventure engine. But there's one deck where I actually think it has some merit, and you can actually try it out, and that's Chimera. So today I wanted to show you some lines that you can do in Chimera with Yubel engine for Phantom of Yubel. And if you stick around till the end, I will tell you the pros and cons, what I think of the engine. So with that being said, let's jump into the first combo. Okay, let's start off with a simple one-card combo and how Nightmare Throne can protect it from Ash and also Droll. So let's start with the Throne. We use it to destroy Spirit of Yubel from our deck, which will trigger to special summon OG Yubel. Now you can normal summon the Mirror Swordknight, and what you can do here is you link these two off into Cross Sheet. Now this makes it so that if your opponent Veilers the Cross Sheet at this point and you don't have extension in your hand, that's obviously a worse play, so think about that before you make this line. Otherwise you can just, before you normal summon the Mirror Swordknight, you can fusion into Phantom of Yubel using the Yubel from the field and the Spirit from the grave, and that way you can't get Veilered on the Mirror Swordknight play or on the Cross Sheet because you don't make it. But just for demonstration's sake, let's stick to the Cross Sheet line. Obviously you can skip it, but we shuffle the two Yubels back to summon Phantom in one of the zones the Cross Sheet points to, which will trigger the Cross Sheet and gets us Mirror Swordknight. Now you can use Mirror Swordknight tribute to get Baphomet, trigger the Baphomet, and you'll add these two. Now this is the first add that you're doing really, so the opponent can't really Droll you either. Note that if you have Coatl and you want to play around Droll, you just use Nightmare Throne, pop the Yubel, go straight into Phantom of Yubel, and then start your Coatl search. Anyway, you have the fusion now, so you just go ahead and fuse these two into a Chimera. Now you can put this here. You'll have both Cross Sheep zones occupied, but once you use the Phantom of Yubel negate, the Chimera here is still in the Cross Sheep zone, which lets you special summon one of the monsters from your grave for follow-up. So, because this has to tribute itself. So we have the standard Chimera thing, so like chaining 1 Baphomet, chaining 2 Gazelle, chaining 3 Chimera. You get the Mirror Swordknight back, and you'll add your Diabolts, you add the Chimera fusion back, and you can set it. During the opponent's turn, you can do the Mirror Swordknight thing, and if you once you fuse it away into Guardian Chimera using the Diabolts, you can resurrect it via the Baphomet. Now, what you can also do, you can put the Chimera not in the Cross Sheep zone, and once you use the Mirror Swordknight, put it here. You can also trigger the Cross Sheep to, say, get back your Gazelle. So up to you, you have to decide how your hand is and when you think you'll use the Phantom of Yubel effect, because this tributes as cost. So you can also just leave this open, and once you fuse, you put this here. Everything's possible here. So that's the standard line, and let's go to some cooler combos. Now, one of the reasons why I like the Yubel engine in this deck more than a glorified adventure engine is you can actually access the engine through your own engine. So we have the classic combo of Patchwork and Coatl or Gazelle. Just have Coatl here for completeness sake. So you're doing the same thing you do in the standard combo. First you get the Patchwork out, because if they Droll you, you can still fusion here. Then you go Coatl, search the Gazelle. You should know this line, and then you poly these two, but now you actually go into Baphomet instead of the Chimera. This will trigger some effect, so you go chaining 1, chaining 2, chaining 3. Adjunct chain is chain blocking, so you're adding this, and then the other ones, the Gazelle adds you the Nightmare Apprentice, and the Baphomet actually sends the OG Yubel. Now, you want to send the OG Yubel because if this line somehow gets stopped, you still have the Spirit of Yubel in your deck, so if in the grand game you get a Nightmare Throne. You still have the Spirit of Yubel in the deck, can pop it and resurrect this Yubel just for an extra body on board. Now, this is in the grave, and we just go Nightmare Apprentice, discard the extra card or whatever else you have in hand, and this will add you the Mirror Swordknight. Then you can overlay these two, and you go into Beatrice. Beatrice then detaches the Baphomet and sends the Spirit of Yubel. Now, they can enter the Beatrice, but you still have your normal summon for the Mirror Swordknight, so worst case, this is just a hand trap, magnet, but once you're at this part, you can just go shuffle the Yubels back and get out your Phantom of Yubel. Now, you're free to go Mirror Swordknight, they can't ash you. Go into Baphomet, get these two cards, fuse, go into the Chimera now, and you'll have Chain Link 1 Baphomet, Chain Link 2 Chimera, or if you want to play around Ogre, you do it the other way around. You get back your Mirror Swordknight, you'll rip a card in the end phase, add back the Chimera Fusion, set it, and now you pass to your opponent, and you can just go Mirror Swordknight, obviously, for the Baphomet. And now you might think, okay, but where is my Diabell slug? We obviously still have a Beatrice sent, so just use the Beatrice, send the Diabells, and once you use the Chimera Fusion, fusing the Baphomet, you get your Diabells back. So the next line I want to show you makes use of the fact that Yubel is actually a Fiend monster, so let's say you have Nightmare Throne and Gazelle. You can activate in the Nightmare Throne, pop the Spirit, special summon the Yubel. Then you can normal summon Gazelle, add Chimera Fusion, and now we can fuse a Fiend and a Beast to go into Baphomet. Now you have Chain Link 1 Gazelle, Chain Link 2 Baphomet. So Gazelle adds you the Nightmare Apprentice, and Baphomet sends to the grave a Mirror Swordknight. Now you can add back the Chimera Fusion if you want, because you have the Chimera on field. You discard any card, go into Nightmare Apprentice, which can add you whatever you want. You don't really need anything else for the combo, so I'm just saying we add Diabells, but you can add whatever you need, like a Coatl too, if you already have Diabells, for example. And now you can overlay these two. Before you do that, obviously, the star of the show, we go fuse these two away, because you don't want to get hand trapped on our Beatrice. They didn't hand trap until now. And there's the Beatrice, use the effect. And we send the Mirror Swordknight because now we can send Tau. Now Tau, when sent to the grave, resurrects our Mirror Swordknight, which tributes itself for Baphomet, and Baphomet adds these two cards. Now you have two Chimera Fusions, so you can just use one, fuse these two away for Chimera King, which will trigger the Baphomet. We already used Gazelle. Get back the Mirror Swordknight, and we set Chimera Fusion. And just like in the previous combos, Mirror Swordknight into Baphomet, fuse the Baphomet away, send the Diabells, and the Beatrice can send like the Coatl if you don't already have an engrave. I think you have most of the cards that you would want to send in your grave. Now lastly, what I want to show you is what if you don't have access to your Chimera cards and just have like Patchwork, Nightmare Throne. This will get significantly better if you have any like if you have like Tau or any other illusion, but like let's just say we only have these two. So you start with the Patchwork to get Poly and Edgem Chain, and you can go Nightmare Throne, pop Yubel from the deck, special summon Yubel. Now obviously you can fuse these two into Garura, which depending on the hand, if you have a normal summon, you can link these two off, draw a card, whatever. But let's not do that. Let's normal summon the Edgem Chain, and we can actually link these two off into Cross Sheep. Now Cross Sheep will trigger, add you, not Cross Sheep, the Edgem Chain will trigger because it's sent to the graveyard, add you just another Patchwork, and now we have the two Yubels engraved. So let's shuffle these back to go into Phantom, which will trigger the Cross Sheep, bring back the Edgem Chain. Now, what's the Edgem Chain going to do? You still have the Poly, so you can Poly a Fiend and a Beast into your Chimera. Now, obviously, this is not the strongest combo you can do, but I just wanted to show that even if you like brick on no Chimera cards, you can still, like, you end on a monster negate and a hand rip and the resurrection on the etching chain if you want. You still have a Patchwork, which if you look at the grave, you still have a poly and an engine, so you have like follow up here. So even if you only have like non-engine with it, you can still end on something decent. And it gets much better if you have any illusion, because then you can just have the cross sheep fuse away from your hand into the zone, and then the cross sheep will arrive, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to show you with these two cards. Alright, pros and cons of the engine. Now, obviously, with this engine, the main reason why you play it is you're much more resilient into hand traps, especially Ash, which the normal version still has issues with. Even if you do the advanced combos, you still, if you get Ashed on Mirror Swordknight, it still hurts a lot. It gets, you can still play, but it shuts off a lot of resources. So this can prevent that or force the Ash on like a Nightmare Throne or whatever. Another nice thing is the Nightmare Throne is just a random extender too. So if you want to do Link Place, Nightmare Phoenix, Muckraker, SP Little Knight, or just Cross Sheep, this can get you the extra body in addition to your normal summon. And you can do some cool things with Cross Sheep just by having Phantom of Yubel. And obviously Yubel is a fiend, so if you draw it, obviously it's not the best, but you can do something with it. So that's why, and also you can access this through your engine, which is the biggest argument as to why I think if you want to play this engine, like, it would be in Chimera, in other decks not so much. But since Chimera can just go into the Phantom of Yubel via the own engine without sacrificing a lot in the main combo, that's why I think it has a home here. But let's not talk about what the engine itself does, because that's something a lot of people do. It's just like, okay, this engine does what? And this is, obviously this does good things, but what do we give up for it? So these are 5 cards in the main deck, 1 in the extra. Now the extra deck is fine. We do have some flex slots, so you can run 1 or 2 Phantom of Yubel. But what do we give up in the main deck? And that's the bigger thing. So for the 5 Yubel cards, you would have to give up 5 non-engine. Now, you can still have Imperm, Veiler, Ash in your main deck, but that's 9 hand traps. In the current format, not enough most of the time, which is kind of a conundrum, because if you're in a hand trap format, this engine obviously helps you, but then you're in a hand trap format and you don't have enough space for hand traps. Now, you can obviously do some siding things, like side this engine out going second for a lot of hand traps. That's something you can do. Or another approach you can do is, because you only have 9 non-engine slots left, what you can do is play Bolt Breakers, because they're higher impact and your engine can play through stuff decently, because, for example, the Nightmare Throne itself forces a monster effect, for example. And you have a nice grind game then. You just go into a grind game with that. So 9 bot breakers is an option. Or what you can also do is you can play 6 bot breakers. So let's say Dark Ruler and Droplet. And then you play 3 Prosperity, which can get you to the bot breakers, but can also get you to your combos, because you don't have that many 1-card stars. I think it's 12 in the normal version, and you want to improve that. And then you have the option to also grab the Nightmare Throne of the Prosperity. Now, another thing we can compare this to is a different engine that's like to be played, and I think it's a good comparison, and that's the branded engine. So the minimum branded engine is 3 Branded Fusion, 1 Fallen of Albaz, and then Rindbrum, Albion, Mirror Jade. Now, let's move this down a bit. So, main deck, we have actually 1 less brick than the Yubel engine, which is a lot better. And the Branded Fusion actually gets you to your Chimera plays via the Rindbrum, so that's a big advantage. Now, obviously, you cannot access the Branded Fusion through your actual engine. And if you run this package and the opponent knows you're on Chimera, you can Branded Fusion, you can get into the Mirror Jade. But then they can keep the ash if they don't ash the branded fusion, but they keep the ash for Mirror Swordknight. You still don't go into your Chimera engine, but you end up with a Mirror Jade, so might still be worth it here. Now, if you want to play around hand traps, you can add the Goddess and the Dragoon, the old package. It's currently not being played, but like if you want to emulate what this engine does a bit better into hand traps, then you have the same amount of bricks in the main deck, and you have the same amount of power cards, just that the branded fusion, it locks you out of the Xyz plays, but it itself can get you to your engine, and you have the option for the Dragoon depending on the format. Downside is that Albion and Albaz and the Goddess are not fiends, so you don't go into Baphomet with it, but you can say like use the Albaz plus the Gazelle to go into Rindrum with like Patchwork, or just normal summon Gazelle and just do plays from there. So these are the three engines that basically compete in this spot. So what do I think of the Phantom of Yubel engine? I will definitely try it, just because you have some cool lines, and it makes the deck a lot more free-flowing combo. But I think you're better off sticking with the branded engine, because this gets you to a Chimera place. You're a Chimera deck, you want to do Chimera place. Or if you are more confident in that you draw well, you play more non-engine, have better chances going second. So that's my review on it. Let me know what you think of the Yubel engine, if you want to try it out, and how it stacks up to these two. If I would rank it, I think it would be like 1, and these are tied for 2, because this, like the more hand trap version or more non-engine version, really sometimes lacks the ability to start games. If I talk about the branded engine, I think I would take the small branded engine just to have the deck be a little more efficient. Alright, that's it for the video. Let me know what you think, and if you like the combos, leave a like, subscribe, and see you next time.